have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution radio show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Hassan Wasaban. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangade. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all.
Well, welcome to Self-Care, and I think we're live. We are live, but we're managing multiple platforms, and one is giving me a hiccup. So let me just run real quick my introduction.
What if you could live to be 120 years old and remain active, healthy, alert, and vibrant? Our bodies are made up of cells that are constantly rejuvenating. So if we take proper care of ourselves, we can literally defy aging. Join us every Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time to learn about self-care from Susan Essentials on the Female Solution Blog Talk Radio Show. Learn how to help your body and your cells feel rejuvenated each day through proper nutrition, sleep, frequency medicine, and many unconventional methods of self-care. I'm Jody Susan. Join me and my amazing guests by calling in at 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak. We'll help you achieve a breakthrough in your health today.
Okay, so we are live, and we are live on all the channels. So this is really, really cool. I'm so excited to have part 2 today. So for those of you who did not join us last week, you're in for just a treat, right? Because I have Tom Whitmire here, and he is a certified doula, lifestyle concierge health and consultant, and creator of the Optimal Birth for Optimal Child course at sproutstanding.com. And last week, things were just on fire. I'm just going to say the information was new to, I think, most of my listeners, and we didn't cover it all. So I'm like, and we did it in 3 hours, not 2, and we still didn't cover it all. And it doesn't mean that we're not time efficient. It just means he's so full of information, you need to hear more. So let me, without further ado, bring on Tom. Hello. So
Yes.
thank you.
Last week, your show introduction started with all those different ways to say hello, and we were going through a list of different ways to say hello, and it was in Senegal and Africa. And I never would have dreamed that at the end of that show, we'd be live with two journalists from Zambia, Africa, who were currently in South Korea. So it was a very international opening, and then our show ended up very international. And that's where we went last week. Who knows where we'll go this week? But I'm really excited to be here because we got a lot done, and I'm looking forward to progressing that.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the only thing I can, I mean, you see when I'm smiling ear to ear, it actually it's hurting my eyes because I'm smiling so hard. You know, you're such a gift, right? And, you know, we all, I think, aspire to live by our highest values, whether we understand that concept or not. We want to do what we love most and what brings us joy, and and we all are here to serve differently. And you're clearly here to serve people so that they have a life filled with love, peace, joy, happiness, and health. And I put health last, but you get all those things when you have your health, right?
Yes.
You get peace, joy, happiness. And so we are live on Podbean. And I just want to just kind of give our listeners, we have quite a few going right now. So this is how it's working. If you want to listen on Podbean, you can come in and you can go to Susan Essentials Self-Care. And you can press a button on your phone if you download the app, because I just want to make sure people know how to connect. And then you can call in and ask questions of Tom, okay, or me. Ooh, live. Or you can also use the chat feature. And that's what I was figuring out on the way. I'm like, they weren't letting me use the URL, the website to go live on the show. They're like, no, you need to download this app. I'm like, oh, bummer. I have to figure this out now first thing in the morning. All right. So we did, and it's live, and that gives you the opportunity to join the room and chat and you know, participate in the show. Okay. So and let me just put that in the comments real quick. So so you go to Podbean, because I really want y'all to try this, because this is kind of fun, and you'll have to give me grace if I mess it up the first time. Okay. So you're looking for Susan Essentials. It's always good to spell your name right. Self-Care. Okay. And so that's in there. So that's what you're going to go to Podbean, Susan Essentials Self-Care. So if you just want to listen, awesome. Hang, watch on YouTube. You put your comments in there, or Facebook. Or if you really want to contribute, join us on Podbean. And today we have a Facebook user from San Diego. Thank you for joining us. Says, hi, Jody Susan Calhoun. And we have Teddy here, who always is one of our, you know, premier followers. She says, I love your show here. You always have helped me with helped so many with healing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So how about we dive into circumcision, shall we?
Oh, okay.
Little shift.
A little shift. I'll take that, and I'll start by saying this. Between the last time I was on and this time, one of the couples that I worked with actually gave birth. So that was really exciting. I was in Michigan, then in Florida. So I witnessed the birth over text messaging, group text messaging. Just one of our other friends was in the room, so she was kind of giving a play-by-play over WhatsApp as they were giving birth. But they had decided to not know the gender of the baby before.
Yeah.
We had sitting down, the person with, I sat down with the mother and the father and went over all of this stuff. And because they didn't know the gender, we have gone over, all the details with circumcision. And really, he told me yesterday, I talked to him and he said, once the baby was born, they actually had a baby girl. But even though they had a girl, just the circumcision talk in his family was creating a huge subdivision and divide in his family, because he had discussed it with members of his parents, the older generation, and he had completely decided he was not going to do circumcision, and his family was encouraging him to do it. And he just brought it up yesterday. He had a baby daughter, so it never came up, but he was prepared to go against, the family and the social norms, and he was not going to circumcise his child. And that is just something that a decision that he had made based on the information that I'm going to provide you right now. But their baby girl is completely healthy, and as we go through the process today, I'll circle back and tell you some of the stories that he told me as we go. But personally, I'm an intactivist. So I believe.
Wait. Do you see what my husband said?
What did he say?
So first he said Andrew was here, which was nice. And he says, when I said about circumcision, he goes, yeah, cut to the quick.
The quick is I'm an intactivist, and I'm more of an intactivist than I'm an activist. And I believe that when a baby is born, that the baby should be left intact.
Thank you.
We come from a world where everybody says, oh, children are born perfect, or children are born in the image of God, or whatever it may be that your religion, says. They all say that, we are born perfect. Mm-hmm. But so many people say, well, my child is born perfect, except for this little piece of skin on the tip of their penis, which we're going to remove immediately for no reason that we know, other than it happened to my father and his father, and it's just become a long tradition. I believe it's time for that tradition to end, and that we look at science-based evidence, factual, look at historically why it happened, look at the science today, and then look at common sense.
Well, let's talk about historically. Why did, and I grew up Jewish, I'm now Christian, but as a Jew, we circumcised, right? And as I understood it, was to keep the penis clean, right? And from spreading disease. Can you add to that? I'm sure you can. I'm sure there's more.
I can, but when just to take this off the table,
Cut it out, honey.
When we say to keep the penis clean, if I were to stand up, there's not a single spot on my body that I have better vision or better area or reach to clean than my penis. It's not like it's some flap on my back that I can't reach with these two hands, so it needs to be removed because I can't clean it. I can fully examine.
So along those lines, if we need to cut the penis in order to clean it, maybe we should remove a part of the nose, which is also made from erectile, by the way, tissue. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. Found that out on a show with Dr. J.R. Hayes out of Illinois. He was telling me how it's erectile tissue. I go, excuse me, what? You said, are you telling me I have penis nose? Yes. The answer was yes.
The answer to your question, in the most general sense in historically, is that when a baby is born and left intact, so they retain their penis, that's a gland that they're cutting off. But when you retain that gland, the gland produces a pheromone, and that pheromone speaks through chemical signaling to the mother and the parents, and it also speaks to a potential spouse. So we're always signaling pheromones, and we use that chemical pheromone in conjunction with probiotics, so beneficial microbiome. Mm-hmm. And they, in conjunction, are saying when a female approaches a male, it's the pheromones, the probiotics that are saying you would be a potential mate for me. We would make a good couple. We would make a good relationship. And then that what's what gives you that tingling sensation of, love at first sight. When she walked into the room, she lit up the room. Well, really, you're smelling, and those pheromones are sent through glands that can be in the armpits, but one of those glands is on the tip of the penis. It also, these glands and these pheromones make you a very loving individual. They really connect you to your parents and to your mom, especially. So what has happened over history is that cultures and civilizations and communities who didn't circumcise were very loving, very open. They loved their wives, they loved their children.
Look at the Greeks, right?
And,
men hug.
Yeah.
Men hug. You go to a Greek community, they're all hugging each other.
And communities that circumcise their young men broke that bond. Those young men did not have a connection to their mothers. They had less of a connection to their wives. They were not choosing their mate based on this compatibility. And therefore, they were more willing to join the army, to become warriors, to go to the next town and to kill, plunge, and take. So what they found is if they circumcised their youngs, they created warriors who then that they felt that made them a stronger community for overtaking the next community. And the people that weren't circumcising were being overtaken, and through a process of elimination, the circumcision took over. That's at the root of it. The root was not a religious.
It was to create warriors.
It was to create warriors, and it's done today to create that love bond between the parents and the child, and between the child and its mate. So it's not choosing its mate based on love and compatibility. So therefore, everybody falls out and becomes, needed of the state. They need the government because they don't have what natural human science has intended for us. That's the root of it.
I want to talk to you. And we're going to talk about how we also bring kids into this world, right? We slap them silly, right? We pinch them, we slap their tushies. And I want to talk to you about how violent we have. And what you're telling me is that we're creating this society built on violence and being a warrior. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's the intentionally dumbing down of America, but it's progressed. And so they want just enough people that are getting knocked down the ladder that they eventually fall into all these spots. They don't want anybody to be highly intelligent, so they take their place, where there is the invisible hand.
Okay, and then we have a Facebook user that has, let me see if I can see who this is. They're asking, what about the argument? So before I go into my question or my rant, what about the argument that uncircumcised boys don't look like the majority of other boys in gym class 7th grade? I don't know about that. Do you?
Let's touch all of the rebuttals. Circumcision does not prevent, infections. It does not prevent sexually transmitted diseases, sexually transmitted infections. It does not increase, a person's hygiene. None of that is ever found in the case. Who cares what the person looks like? I mean, the dad has a beard, the baby doesn't. Are we gluing beards on the baby so that they look like their fathers? Or every single kid in the junior high that takes a shower is different. The problem is that we're now progressing towards people are not circumcising. So it's going to be the person that is circumcised that's soon in these next generations is going to be the one that is different. It's going to be the person that's not circumcised. But the circumcision is actually that it's a sheath of skin that the tip of your penis rolls back into, and that skin covers the tip of the penis because the tip of the penis is such a sensitive area.
Mm-hmm.
But when we remove,
like the clitoris is covered.
Yeah.
Right. So it's no different, just the female version.
So when you remove that skin that's covering the tip of the penis now is rubbing on your jeans or on your pants. And we have so many pants that have a zipper right where your penis.
Yeah, no.
So now the tip of your penis, while you're growing up, is constantly rubbing on that zipper, and it's rubbing itself raw. So you're losing the sense. You're supposed to have that sense at the tip of your penis so that when you're having sexual intercourse, you're supposed to have, all of those nerve points at the end are supposed to be there. So you have that, romantic feeling. Now people, the tip of their penis is being rubbed raw. And that's why sex has become so violent and there's so much like impact, if you
because they have to work harder in order to get an ejaculation.
To get any sense in your penis, you feel they're about rubbing themselves raw for the circumcised males. And so that's kind of like, one of the things. So it's supposed to be a sheath where your penis just moves in, moves out, because sex isn't supposed to be for pleasure. It's supposed to be for, procreating. But
we can both.
But let's go back to your your question is the pain and the suffering that they're putting kids through at the moment of birth.
Well, yeah, let me start with that and then I'll trace it back. Okay. So first of all, this is back, I think like 1989, 1990. And it was the first, I don't know if it was my first or second nephew that was born. I think it was my first nephew that was born. And, growing up in a Jewish family, they actually have a party around this shit. Sorry, So everyone's standing around a table and the moil comes and they remove the sheath. And, I don't know who I am back then. I don't know that I'm an empath. I don't know all this stuff, but I did faint because I can feel the energy of the baby who's in pain, right? Because we're taking off a body part. So let that sink in just for a moment, right? I don't care how much you think you're numbing that. And why are we putting stuff into our babies anyway, or taking things off? Secondly, creating warriors. This is going to be a hard conversation. So I grew up in war. So my husband, his family never raised a hand to anybody. I was used as a punching bag. I was in the hospital half the time, not half the time. I was in the hospital a lot. And, imprints on my neck from being strangled and whatnot. And throughout my lifetime, and I'm just going to admit this, and people can judge if they want to judge, but throughout my lifetime, I never hit anybody because I just thought it was just that wrong. Like I wanted to do the opposite. And my husband is my twin flame. And anybody who understands what a twin flame is, it's a healing relationship. And so we have to heal the wounds of our childhood, but also for Andrew and I, we have to heal the lineage, right? That's part of our responsibility. And you have that as true. So just for people who know, Tom is also a intuitive. And do you hear that as true, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I never hit anybody. And what I also want to now, take that and chunk it for a moment. Okay. I'm at a conference May 18th and there's this beautiful bug, like beetle type thing. It was gorgeous, running through the conference. And I'm ready to go get a cup and capture it and put it outside. And I hear this foot come down on the bug and it sends waves of death through the conference. And it caused me grief, and it also fear. And for those of you who don't know, fear and grief and those low vibration energies are the entryways to negative energy forms, like demons, bad negative entities. And if you don't believe in demons, that's okay. We don't have to, but just to say negative forms of energy, right? Let's do that to keep it a safe place. So this negative form of energy is in my body because I had fear, because I now have an open door for anything to come in, because I'm in fear that something has just died. And I am crying to my husband on this day, on May 18th, because I don't know what this is in my body. And I know it doesn't feel good. And somehow I got triggered and I hit him. I've never hit it. I don't hit people. And I hit him in the bicep, and I broke my wrist in 4 places.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, first of all, it's kind of hard to break your wrist in 4 places hitting someone's bicep. Just going to tell you. There's a whole story about why that happened and the message I had to give to the orthopedic about using nutrition versus toxins. So there was a gift rolled in that. But the point is that the reason it came up was so that Andrew and I could heal the entire lineage of violence and the concept and thought form of being a warrior. Like, we had to release that, not only for us, but for the entire lineage. And when his mom told me yesterday that no one had ever hit anybody in their family, and I'm thinking, and she doesn't know this yet. I was going to call her this morning unless she's watching the show. I mean, I grew up, on defense. Tuesday was strap day because it was Tuesday. Yeah. So what are we doing to our children when we bring them into this world with a slap on the butt and cutting off their body parts? Now I'll let you go back, because I'm telling you what's happened over the last 60 years for me, right? And I don't think that I think there are people who have it way different than me, but I think there's a lot of people that have it very much the same as me. Would you agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree. We live in so babies are being brought in this world with the parental trust being destroyed, because
space, yeah.
the baby retains this subconscious element. So they believe that I was born and now my parents have allowed me to be, we still have, photographers that mostly are the ones that report it. Nurses don't report it. The doctors don't nobody in the birth community except photographers will say that they're taking babies. They're still holding them upside down by one leg and smacking the baby to say that we're trying to get it to. These are techniques that were, from, in the 1950s in London. So they're going to spank the baby. They're going to smack the baby. They're going to pinch the baby. And they say that they're trying to initiate, cough and breathing. But the baby can be initiated for breathing by simply just doing skin-to-skin contact, rubbing the back, petting, massaging. If you have to tickle the feet.
Tickle the feet, give them a big kiss.
Yeah.
Right? Give them a kiss. Give them love. There's nothing that heals more than love.
And a baby that, is in our world still attached to the umbilical cord when it was born at that point, spent 9 months not breathing, oxygen and air in the womb. Another minute is going to be fine. This little amount of time, it doesn't need to be an emergency where we're smacking. But that still takes place. I'm not going to say that happens everywhere, but that still takes place, just as an example. But what's happening almost everywhere, in Michigan, it's at like 80%. West Virginia is the highest amount of circumcision. Michigan's number 2. I was born in Michigan. I am circumcised. That's why I feel I can speak about, the excruciating, or like growing up with, this, not knowing why this doesn't function and why this doesn't work the way it should. But in the literature for circumcision, the doctors are still told, like in the medical books, that babies don't feel pain. I've had people come to me and then say, if I say no circumcision, it's painful for the baby, they'll come back and show me studies, National Board of Health studies, that babies don't feel pain. Babies feel pain. What's happening is that baby's feeling betrayed. Then the baby's being strapped down. So they have these boards where they like strap their legs in. They're just little plastic boards. They don't even have, padding or comforting. A lot of times they'll strap the babies, they'll lock their arms down, they'll lock their legs down, and they perform an entire surgery on the baby without giving the baby any anesthesia. So conventionally the mom's begging for painkillers in the hospital, but they're fine doing surgery on the baby without any painkillers. And what happens at one point, the baby's screaming. Like some of the circumcision nurses say that, the baby just screams. At one point, the baby will just disassociate. So they'll just completely gloss over.
I call that jumping out of body.
Yeah, you can say that the soul just removes itself from the body for a moment to disconnect from this violent pain, the surgery, and this excruciating pain where they're supposed to be held by their parents, and now they're going through this pain. And in some medical facilities are doing this immediately. Some religions require you to wait 7 or 8 days, but the baby is then disassociating. So now we're going back to the point that the person may be 40 years old and or let's just say they're 25 years old and they just had a baby. They're now when they're in that medical situation, they're now reliving that pain. So we have other fathers, instead of being involved in the childbirth, they're instead reliving the trauma that's now coming up, and they have to relive that. They're processing that, therefore they can't be for their wives. But it just creates years of problems that nobody associates going back to that circumcision. And then on the other end, we have parents that would even hear me say this, and they'll say, well, I would want my kid to be like me. I'm mean and violent and drink alcohol and have all these addictions. I want my kid to be just like me. I couldn't imagine, if I'm a big tough guy who likes football, if my son was had a loving relationship with his mother and wanted to pursue his dreams that are opposite of my dreams. That's the crazy thing.
Dance,
art. They won't follow through. Instead, they choose for the sensory deprivation, the disassociation, the broken spirit. The child grows up with permanent discomfort. The glands are not producing the pheromones. It just goes on and on and on.
Let's go to commercial. It's 8:33 because I need we're supposed to go to commercial anyway, but this is overwhelming, like what we have done to our children, right? So let's go to a quick commercial, and we're going to come back, and I'll know where to pick up from there.
Right.
We're going to cut to a break. Add a little levity, right? Here we go. There you go.
The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution.
Hi, I'm Jody Susan with Susan Essentials. I started Susan Essentials in 2015 because of a personal health journey. I was over-medicated and put on 19 different medications. And yes, I reversed all my chronic diseases using plant and energy-based healing. It was amazing. At Susan Essentials, we support both consumers and businesses, and we do that with helping your employees or yourself with a food as medicine mindset. How Susan Essentials supports businesses and consumers is we teach people about a food as medicine mindset. So we support people on how to support their own immune system, how to support their brain health, how to support their emotional well-being. And we do that all with plant and an energy-based healing. Okay, so we are back. I've been sharing the show. We've got Kim DeClerc watching. So thank you, Kim, for joining us. And Charles Key, thank you for being here. And Phil, thank you for being here. We're grateful to have you joining us. And if you'd like to contribute to the show, you can put comments in the thread, or you can call in or download the Podbean app and ask to contribute. And you can call in actually just from your phone using that little button on Podbean if you have questions. And I want to go back to a question. And I don't know. I don't think he's being comical. So he says, this is Charles. He says, do you know the best thing to come out of a penis? And I'm not sure if Charles, are you trying to be funny, or is there I don't understand the question. Do you?
I mean, the answer is that circumcision isn't it isn't this overwhelming majority anymore. I mean, probably 60% of the school's classroom is going to have natural penises. The second part is that, when I was in 7th grade, believe it or not, when we had to go to mandatory gym class, when we were done, we had to openly shower as a group of 20 boys, showering completely naked with a gym teacher standing there with a clipboard, marking off that you showered, and your part of your grade was dependent on you showering. So this is, I believe, what he's referring to. This is in 94, 93. And so, yeah, you're going to, at that point in life, you would see a penis. I mean, I've talked to, 3, I'm not going to say majority, but they do not have boys and the majority in the public school system showering together anymore, just, due to the way that things have progressed in the world. That's not a good idea. So that's what the question is referencing when they say, well, what about the majority in the boys in the gym class? I just don't, it's not a reason. It's not a reason to put your kid through all this pain and suffering for their entire lives. The hygiene issue, what's happening as well is that the circumcised doctor isn't trained on how to care for a penis that's natural. So they don't know that when the baby's born, that, there is beneficial bacteria in microbiome that's established with that provides, immunity to that area. So it's not going to become infected, but you don't want to pull back that skin. So even doctors will tell the parents that need to pull back that skin, and they're even breaking that natural bond, just because so the doctor doesn't know how to tell the parents to care for a natural penis. So they'll just tell the parent to circumcise. It's just this never-ending spiral. And really, I'm not going to have all the answers and all the rebuttals in this podcast for you. That's why I wrote a book, and it has, 12 pages dedicated to this, because I think it is one of the most important decisions that you can make for your child, for a male child growing up in this world.
Well, and then, let's pivot for a moment to the women. And while it's not done in the United States, it is done in other countries where they mutilate the clitoris, right? And for the same reasons, or similar reasons anyway, to so that the woman is not promiscuous, I think is what the issue is. I'm actually not positive. But, the thing is, if you're of childbearing age, or you have children who are of childbearing age, I'm here to give you permission to change the trajectory, to not have to follow the status quo, and to do what you think is right for your child and your grandchild.
Yeah.
You
I mean, if a father is worried about their son, then if that same, machismo, macho ego mentality, they should want their son to have a pleasurable sex experience, which is more pleasurable with a natural penis. They should want their son to be able to choose a loving mate, that they're going to have a loving relationship, and that they're going to stay in that relationship long enough that they'll procreate, so that, the grandfather's name and legacy will be passed on. So if you want your legacy and your name to be passed on by your son being able to, impregnate a woman and get, have fertility, to be able to pass on your legacy, it's best done with a natural intact penis. So it's more macho machismo to carry on by leaving your son intact than worrying about something that might happen in a showering experience during athletics.
Right. And so I would just say that we look, we're all divine children of God. And so you don't have to do what anybody else tells you to do. And even if they have the DR in front of their name or an MD after their name, right? And we have grown up to believe that if you became a medical doctor, that they had the God complex, right? That they are all knowing. And like, maybe you can shift your mindset around that. Maybe it's just really different. So Vieta Robinson, who is our host from Friday and Sunday, she says, in home births, there are few or no circumcisions you would like to know?
I'll agree with that. So most of the people that are willing to take the risk of having a home birth have hired a qualified midwife, they've hired a doula, they've done their research, so they know the benefits of a home birth. Therefore, they will then be presented with the information to make an educated decision based on circumcision. And when they see the evidence, it's 100% leans into leaving the penis intact, having a natural penis. So I will totally agree with that. If you want to know, I'll give you one quick fact, but a circumcised penis is 5 times more likely to suffer from erectile dysfunction as well.
Wow, get out.
So if you just want to hit some, hit some studies on erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation, that's coming from circumcised penis. But I want to bring this all to a close so that we can
go on to the next topic and stop.
But I'm going to have a closing topic that's going to be long. So when we look at the reason of why something's done, no doctor is doing anything because it benefits your health in the long run, right? No medical establishment is doing anything that benefits somebody's health in the long run. They're doing what is most profitable for them. So they're a business. The hospital is a business. You're their customer. They're selling you their most expensive items, and they just hope you're gullible enough to not question it, to trust them, and just let them dictate the procedures that you're going to go through. And they dictate circumcision because it's profitable to the hospital, and the doctors get paid commissions for when their child that they birth makes the decision to get circumcision. So it's all about the money. follow the money. If you want to know why something happens, follow the money. It's profitable for doctors and it's profitable for hospitals because hospitals sell the baby's foreskin for profit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that foreskin.
We were talking about last week that they were selling the umbilical cord for profit. I think we said it's like $40,000.
Yeah.
You're saying they're also selling the foreskin for profit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Tell us.
I mean, where it's openly talked about with, I mean, the information comes out, and then when you try to look for it directly online, there's so much stuff because they got so much backlash when they originally said it that they write all these counter articles. But Oprah Winfrey openly endorsed a skin cream on her show that was made from baby foreskins. Kate Blanchett told Vogue it was like $650 penis facial made from baby foreskins. So there's this whole segment of the rich and famous that believe that they can get eternal youth, longevity, anti-aging from consuming baby products, that the babies are the fountain of youth. So whether they, produce a hormone, if you will, when they're getting to fear, they believe that they drink that adrenaline.
Can't talk about that. Sorry. You don't want me, I'll get sick. Yeah.
They consume the this and the that, and foreskins is in that area as well. But the foreskin is always like growing, so it's malleable and it can be spread out. So they can grow these foreskins. So it's the type of like cells that never stop producing. They can just keep stretching these foreskins out, and they just grow to they can spread out almost endlessly. So they can then sell those patches. So some of the times when you're getting like a skin graft, that skin graft may be started as a baby foreskin.
Wow.
So so they're using them in pharmaceuticals. They're using them in cosmeceuticals. So
yeah, cosmetics. I have here an article that I brought up. I just did a quick, it's Aloe Health. Do hospitals sell foreskin? An overview of the facts, the history of selling in the medical industry, the ethics of foreskin sales, a debate amongst
doctors perform this elected procedure. It's elective surgery, and they may receive a commission anywhere from $50 to $400, just for the referral. So that can be, that can be an extra $100,000. Anywhere from $20,000 to $160,000 a year as an incentive, and then when you have that incentive, then you have these whole boards that are gonna, cover up the truth because they don't want to lose this industry where 80%, in the high end, 80% of the people in the state will be, circumcised. Then you got the whole thing. It goes back to insurance. It goes back to Medicaid. They're covering the costs of these elected surgeries. So it's completely elected surgery. But
and I just want to go back to what I consider basics for a moment here. And look, we were made in the eyes of God. And so if someone's telling you to modify your body, upon instant case, or telling you to modify your child's body in this case, right? Think twice about it, right? If we're born in the, if we're made in God's image, right? Then why are we changing the image? Why? And is that really what Christ wanted you to do? Is that what God wants you to do? And if you don't aspire to those two things, then just go to the health. I mean, there's a whole lot of ways you can skin that cat, right? Pun intended.
It doesn't prevent STDs. It doesn't prevent penile cancer. It doesn't stop masturbation. It doesn't prevent promiscuity. All of these, things that they're saying, it's just simply not true. What is bottom line happening beyond the creating a warrior, creating violence, creating that, is we also have an air, and this is kind of like the conspiracy of it all, but we're in a comfortable setting. We also have where people in power who are from a certain religion, then they sit on these boards, and then other people from their religion come onto the board, and then they then dictate down, well, how can we get, people inducted and indoctrinated? So really what happens if you're not a religious person and your baby's getting circumcised, the hospital's performing a religious service over your baby and is technically indoctrinating them or inducting them into their belief system. So as a parent who's just standing by and allowing that to happen, you have all these different factors, from the disassociation of the parent, the lifetime effect, and on a religious standpoint, they're performing often surgeries for their religious purposes that aren't holding your same value system. And I think those combined are all reasons to not circumcise your baby.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then we have, this is Naima Latif. She's in my private group. She says on Facebook, it's just, I'm so grateful for my obstetrician, Dr. Odie Payne, who gently massaged my daughter at birth until she started to breathe. She was born without violence and has been peaceful ever since. And, and then Naima continues to say, so I'm seeing it on my phone. That's how I can tell who's who. She says, who would have thought world peace begins with how we treat a baby boy's genitals?
It is. That's why I became an expert in this area, because this is the only way that society can progress. You can't just throw money at somebody. If they're in the prison system, you throw all the money you want at them and all the rehabilitation, and they can do all the pharmaceuticals or psychedelics they want. But it was at that moment of birth, so the 9 months of in the mother's womb, this 2-hour window after they're born, that is actually creating the aspects down the line. We don't live in a world where they have a murder and then they say, who is the murderer? What's the profile of the murderer?
Well, I'd say the doctor is.
Yeah, the profile of the murderer isn't, well, they were naturally born and then breastfed and not circumcised. It's usually the complete opposite of that, is the people that go awry, the 4% of the society that has no empathy, has no morals, is cheating, robbing, stealing. And that's how we end to that, not throwing money at the problem.
So I would like to know what our listeners are thinking about this. What do you think? Do you advocate for circumcision now, knowing what you have just learned? Did this change your mind? What did you think about this before? I'd like to really hear from our community about what your thoughts are about circumcision and anything else that we're talking about newborns, right? And what a healthy pregnancy really looks like. So Teddy says, I was at, so Teddy, you were at Leslie, Josh's bris, I think. I'm referring to my brother David, his bris, and they were born years before. Josh was born after Mitchell and Brian, brain freeze. Okay, and then we have DA says, I truly believe it's religious discrimination by deception.
Yeah,
I agree.
And it's if the my body my choice people, if it's my body my choice, then just allow your child to be uncircumcised, and if they reach a point in adulthood where they think it's best for them, then they can opt to do it. I don't agree with that, but at least I don't agree that they should do it, but that's another possibility. But
if you don't have the answer to this question, I have a question. Can they put it back on as an adult?
I would go with no. I don't know the answer to that. I would go with no. What would you put back on? They sold.
Oh, I don't know.
They sold it. I mean, yeah. Can you? So what? The answer to that is you can't put the gland back on. You're never going to get the pheromone.
Right, you're not getting the pheromone.
But they do sell techniques, and it is a trend now where men can do like a rehabilitation where they can put. This is insane, but they put
a little more insanity for a Tuesday morning.
They put weights on the flap that remains. They'll put like weight on that, or they'll stretch that out, and they try to stretch out the skin of the penis so that it will at least, extend and then cover the tip of the penis. But you can't put back the gland that you lost. But there is a movement to try to, reestablish more foreskin, if you will.
Okay, so it is just before the top of the hour, 5 to 9, 5 to 8 if you're in Chicagoland. And we're going to go to a quick commercial. Please stay with us. Invite your friends to this show. Share the show so that other people can learn, hear truth, right? And then do you want to talk about infertility next, or what would be your?
Yeah, when we come back, let's talk about the vitamin K shot.
Oh, vitamin K. Okay, let's do that. So we'll just do a quick commercial and go get your Java. I prefer dandelion Java, just so you know, to keep the caffeine free going and keep it nutrient dense. All right, here we go.
The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution.
Hi, I'm Jody Susan with Susan Essentials. I started Susan Essentials in 2015 because of a personal health journey. I was over-medicated and put on 19 different medications. And yes, I reversed all my chronic diseases using plant and energy-based healing. It was amazing. At Susan Essentials, we support both consumers and businesses, and we do that with helping your employees or yourself with a food as medicine mindset. How Susan Essentials supports businesses and consumers is we teach people about a food as medicine mindset. So we support people on how to support their own immune system, how to support their brain health, how to support their emotional well-being. And we do that all with plant and an energy-based healing. All right, so we are back, and we do have a couple comments that we just want to answer first, and then we'll go to vitamin K. Vieta Robinson, she says, both my sons were circumcised mainly because their dad was, and the Bible, along with religious teachers, promoted it. Regret it at this point, but they are adult men now. Only a new consciousness teaching can help them. Or that's a question. Only a new can help. Go ahead. Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, I understand that people have done it. They made the decision to do it. Their religious teachings told them to do it. They looked the other way. They didn't know that most people don't even know it's a choice not to do it. I will personally say, as a circumcised male, I didn't even know what circumcision was until I was 30 years old. I had no idea what it was.
How old are you now?
I'm 44. I was born in 1979. I've been alive for 6 decades. Yeah, I didn't even know what it was. It's so unspoken. I didn't even know what the procedure was.
Wow.
You could say, are you circumcised? Say, yes. I don't know what that means. I didn't know that they cut off a gland, they peel back all this, what the intricate elements of what happened was. But yeah, before we get into infertility and why couples are having problems, having babies, I just want to do a little bridge here, because circumcision has to do with the vitamin K shot and vice versa.
Okay.
So what's happening is in a hospital birth, but even in birth centers, some home births, they're going to try to give the baby a vitamin K shot immediately. And that, vitamin K is a vitamin that helps with clotting, but they're using needles. They're using syringes and needles, and almost immediately after your baby's born, and in some states even require this. It's that ludicrous. They're going to inject your baby with vitamin K. And the reason they do that is because they're assuming, because they want to, they're assuming that the baby will undergo an immediate surgery, and that the mom must be on blood thinners and medications, and that her body must be so bad that she can't produce vitamin K shot, and that the mom's going to decide not to breastfeed, so they must intervene. So at no point does a medical establishment does the hospital want your baby to be healthy, that they would be giving them any vitamins of any benefit. So the vitamin K that they're actually even giving the baby isn't even, vitamin K2, MK7. That's the kind that the body could even utilize anyway. They just want to be able to have another area where they can take your baby away and inject it with a needle to create pain, to break that love bond. Yeah.
And that becomes a cellular memory. It just does. And I know this on a soul level, and I'm sure there's signs. I know that there's signs to support it, but this memory of pain, this memory of discomfort, anxiety. And so, I know that one of my missions here on earth is to help people shift that cellular memory, right? And release the pain memory and the anxiety memory, and replace it with peace, harmony, and joy. Right. And we do that by reclaiming our health, and which is why I do this show.
Yeah.
Because this is my volunteer activity.
Well, my course, so I offer a course in birth. And if you're going through my course, then your body is not going to be deficient of any vitamins. It's not going to be deficient of any nutrients at all, minerals, phytochemicals, hormones. It's not going to have a hormonal imbalance. You're going to check all these boxes before you get to birth. So what's happening is everything's kind of like, all this OBGYN and all this birth stuff was like written in like the 1950s on the East End of London by the docks. And then you had the sailors coming in, and they're like being promiscuous with, the ladies of the night at the dock. And then these are the ladies that are then having to deliver babies in the hospitals, where the OBGYN doctors are writing all the medical studies. So they're seeing women that may have gonorrhea, or they're not eating any foods. They're just living day to day by sleeping with sailors and other men at the docks. And to this day, the problem with birth is that they still believe all of those small things. That when that doctor wrote that, that's where they still go back and get all their information from. And vitamin K is one of those. So we live in a world where if the mom's eating leafy greens and she's getting vitamin K, if for some reason she felt like she wasn't, you can just take a really high quality vitamin K2 MK7 supplement. And then that's going to automatically go to the baby, so the baby will have vitamin K. And even if you felt like that wasn't necessary, you still don't need to do a needle shot. You can just have an oral or a transdermal vitamin K2 MK7 supplement in case there's an emergency. So in case that baby goes to emergency and does need surgery or whatever it may be, you could just transdermally, through the gums, under the tongue, give that baby a little MK7 if that baby's not breastfeeding. If the baby's breastfeeding, the mom can breastfeed it in. So the baby's going to start producing vitamin K around 7 or 8 days. And that's why some of the religions have deferred circumcision to day 7 or so. They have a ceremony separate than the hospital. But
so the Jews do that. And I want to talk about your approach, like avoiding the needle. Things are changing, everybody. I have these patches. They're called the super patch. And no, it's not delivering K, vitamin K, but it's delivering a signal, because everything's a signal, as Tom was indicating before, right? The pheromone on the tip of the penis and the foreskin. And that patch is actually, they're coming out for erectile dysfunction, so that you get the signal to the brain so you can have an erection, right? But they're also coming out for one with diabetes, but they have right now one for balance and stability, pain. They have a patch for pain. They have a patch for, joy, peace. And why am I saying this? Well, because all we're doing is sending a signal to the brain. We don't have to cause harm. It's not invasive. So my guess, this is where they started, but why wouldn't they be able to create a patch to give a signal, for whatever vitamin your body needs to create or whatever, that too. It's pretty amazing. And the point is that we can, it's kind of like the argument I have against ayahuasca. I like ease and grace, and I know people need to get rid of their traumas, but you can use sound frequency. We don't have to be so harsh on the body. We can use love, peace, joy, and we can do this with greater. We can just do this peacefully. Look, we've all been through a lot of trauma. And I'm just here to tell you that there's different ways to approach it. I want to go to Charles Key, because I don't fully understand this. So I'm going to let you address it. I'll read it and then let you talk. He says, I'm the father of 2 boys, now 21 and 16. I was at the bris for both of them. It was the tale of 2 different reactions. My son, Morgan, my firstborn, cried unconsolably, and Christian, 16, did not make a peep. The difference was a nurse that distracted Christian by giving him her gloved finger that she had dipped in sugar water. Are we assuming up the anus or something?
No. So
mouth.
It's just one of the other ridiculous things that hospitals do because they don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't give the baby anesthesia, but they say not to worry because we gave them sugar water. I have a whole page in the book dedicated to this. Basically, they're just trying to soothe the baby with, creating a sugar addiction at a very young age. But they're taking most likely a genetically modified, sugar beet sugar that's been, bleached and stripped of all of its nutrition, and it just has this sweet taste. And they're dipping their finger in it and they're sticking it in the baby's mouth just to soothe them. And they think that's anesthesia for doing the surgery.
No, actually, and the sugar actually lights up 8 pleasure centers of the brain, right? Like a pinball machine. So now your brain's on fire, right? And it's going boom, 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 boom. And he probably didn't make a peep because his brain's going in 10, 15 million directions, right?
Yeah, you're hitting it as an excitotoxin. So now instead of being on breast milk, you have this sugar water, place there. Now the breast milk's not going to be as stimulating to the baby because they have this, this taste of the sugar water. It's the same thing they're doing with bees. If they're giving bees high fructose corn syrup so they can steal their honey, and then they wonder why the bee colony collapses, because they're eating genetically modified sugar. The other thing that some hospitals will do, they'll immediately give the baby Tylenol. I mean, Tylenol sends thousands of people to the hospital. I mean, it's one of the leading causes of hospitalization.
It's a neurotoxin.
In the United States is Tylenol, and they're giving the baby, they're either not giving the baby anesthesia, they're giving the baby Tylenol, which creates all kinds of side effects, especially in the organs. It's not infant Tylenol, or they'll do, suck on this sugar water, or suck on this pacifier that's been stuck in sugar water. It's not a reason to do it. And can say that I'm understand that your second child had a better situation than your first child, but your second child could have already disassociated, their pain.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that disassociation just for a brief moment. So disassociation, like when someone gets in a car accident, especially if it's pretty severe, their spiritual body jumps out of their physical body, right? Because they think it's safer to be out of their physical body than it is to be in that body, because there's a threat. And then I'm just going to tell you from experience, once a child, because it's usually going to happen as a kid for the first time, learns to jump out of body, right? That's how they're not present in the moment. And they're not present for other people because they can't be present. They've jumped into another timeline or another dimension, and they're not present in this one, which means then they can't focus on what's going on. And so, I teach people how to ground and bring themselves back into body and back into this timeline and into this dimension, and then align themselves back with source energy, because it's and then you have to retrain your body to stay in body, retrain your spirit, to stay in body, right? And so, if you're around somebody who you feel is typically not present, that's something you can look into. My friend Rajai Kaldani and I did a 1 hour YouTube event or broadcast, and we taught people how to access source energy. So I would share that and get them started there first, so they can learn how to ground, and stay, centered. And that's the first place to get started. And I've just been called to provide this to the community at no cost, because it's your divine right to not only pray to God, but to hear the response. So anything you want to add to that? Or
when we go from circumcision to vitamin K shot, just the next one that I want to hit on, because they all come in the same order.
Yes.
And it's kind of part of what you're talking about, is the eye ointment. So so what has happened when I'm talking about the 1950s London, and they, to this day, still think that every woman that gives birth has chlamydia, gonorrhea, or some sexually transmitted infection. Therefore, they need to immediately put this eye ointment, antibiotic erythromycin ointment, or ON, whatever it may be.
About that, because I'm going to get the solution. I'll be right back. Yeah.
You do your thing. So they're assuming. So I'll just tell you a story of my buddy Dave. He met his wife. He met his girlfriend in 8th grade. They dated all the way through college, completely faithful. They never had a hiccup. They got married right after college. And when the time came, they decided to have a baby in Florida. And he said, we want to, and then I presented him this information. He said, we want to decline the eye ointment. And in the delivery room, they told him you couldn't decline it because there's no way he could guarantee that his wife didn't have chlamydia, gonorrhea. He said, I've been with my wife since 8th grade. were not promiscuous, I can guarantee it. And they still wanted to do it. The doctors, the nurses, they will not back down. If you don't have a doula or somebody that's representing you, that's your advocate, if you don't present them with a birth plan and then make them know, that you have this third party here that's going to be in your best interest. So the father will say, no, eye ointment's not in our birth plan. And then you have to have the doula to come in and, stand up for you. But it's just the eye ointment's completely outdated, false, fake science. So the colostrum that the baby is breastfeeding is the antibacteria. That's the, where the if there was an infection, but there's not, that's what would fight off the infection. There's no scientific validation to this eye ointments or these eye drops. It's just one of the other things where they're breaking the lifelong love bond. So they're putting those eye drops in there, and then the baby's eyes close, and then the baby's not making eye contact with the mom or making eye contact with the dad, which is one of the the five senses that we need to use for the baby to say to the mom, I can see you, you're alive, and the mom can see into the baby's eyes, and her biology knows that the baby's alive. Instead, they're causing irritation, temporary blurry vision, and it also can give you kind of like a false positive pink eye. So they'll put guck in the baby's eyes, and an hour later, another person will come in and say, oh my gosh, they might have pink eye. We need to take the baby away and run more tests. So
it's a vicious circle. So what I want to share, and so I did have pink eye, by the way. This is Correct-X by doTERRA. Do not ever put it in your eye, okay? But I had pink eye, and I use this, and I explain why. And how you could, if someone really wants to put something on their baby because there was chlamydia or something, how you would do this. So Correct-X is an essential oil ointment, and it's filled with things like frankincense, helichrysum, cedarwood, lavender, tea tree, and that's it. Well, I did have pink eye, but you can't be putting this stuff in your eye. So let me just repeat that 5 more times. Do not put this stuff in your eye. But what I was called to do was put it at the high cheekbone, here and here, above and below the eye, so at the brow. And so, this stuff will go where it needs to go because your body's a master healing machine. It'll, tell the stuff where to go. And I had pink eye, and within a day or 2, it was gone. But I never put it on the eye. I put it above and below. And so in the same light, if a child had, and I'm not giving medical advice, okay, but you could say that if a child was born and there was something like what, Tom was, suggesting that they had chlamydia or some sort of STD, you could put it above and below the eye on the brow and the cheekbone. And it's actually healing the body anyway. It's frankincense, which does cellular repair and puts the brain in a meditative state. Helichrysum, which is the most, it helps heal wounds, and it stops bleeding. Lavender is for pain. Tea tree is for infection. And honestly, I forget what cedarwood is for. I know it's for grounding, but I don't know what it's for in this particular instance.
That sounds wonderful.
Well, and right, and it looks like Neosporin. It's supposed to replace the over-the-counter drug Neosporin, and I keep like boxes of this in here because I had a burn once, and I just put it on. The burn, was gone in like an hour. And the point being is that if you give your body what it needs, and we stop giving it toxins and things that it doesn't recognize, the body just naturally heals itself. And we have to shift our mindset that we have to give it crap in order for it to heal. No, not the case. Actually, what we need to do is give it things that it recognizes. It recognizes plants. Actually, we're so aligned with plants, it's not even funny. Now, I'm not vegan or vegetarian, but when it comes to healing, there's nothing more powerful than a plant. I'm going to tell you now. We should talk about the vegan cruise. But anyway, so the point is that you have choices, and we're both here to let you know that you have choices. So Next victim.
Yeah, cedarwood is, one of the oils of the Bible, as you know.
Well, so, I don't know everything, and I did not know that was one of the oils of the Bible, but cedarwood is very grounding. I actually have a cedar tree outside my house. Actually, is it cedar juniper? Is that, well, it's a juniper cedar. That's the thing, right? Juniper
Yes,
cedar.
you're
Okay.
correct.
Okay. So I took the leaves from the tree. It asked me to cut it down, and so I did. And then I started extracting. I did an extraction method here at my house, and I made a tincture out of it. And it's so beautiful. So anybody who's coming here, if I get it done on time, we're having an event here October 1st, this Sunday, where we're building the labyrinth from 1 to 5, and then we're praying for the healing of the earth. And if I get all my stuff done, I'm making this tincture of cedar, which is juniper, and juniper is for grief. And we have a lot of grief, and so you smell that, and it changes and shifts the chemistry in your brain in 20 seconds. So, like, there's your gift. So Chris says cedarwood is very good for the skin, and she says, and skeeters don't like it. Nice to know. Thank you, Chris. Mosquitoes. All right. So next, go ahead.
I mean, addiction's one of the things that we have to get over when we're talking about pregnancy and birth. It's not about, if I were to say to a couple, I would say it's not about you, it's about the baby.
Mm-hmm.
The baby isn't signaling you to eat hot dogs and hamburgers and pizza and Doritos. The baby's not signaling you to drink caffeine and alcohol and to feed your addictions. Your brain, your mother intuition at this point has been hijacked by the media, the corporations, and propaganda and the medical establishment. These boards in industry are paying, millions of dollars to show women that are pregnant on TV, social media, to show them consuming unhealthy, bad products. The coffee industry, the caffeine industry wants women on television to still be drinking caffeine so that you see that it goes into your mind. Then when you present the information to your doctor, I would say most all doctors will tell women that consuming caffeine while pregnant is fine. The reason they say that is because they don't want to lose a customer, because most of the time the woman already has it in her mind that she's going to drink the coffee or consume the caffeine or the cacao or whatever addiction may be. And she's not going to end her addiction. She's just going to end her relationship with a doctor that tells her no. And she'll go till she finds a doctor that tells her yes, because one of the number one thing that Americans love is to get good news about their bad habits. I mean, That's what Americans go to the doctor to get good news about their bad habits. They'll be
you're leading the witness here, right? Because I'm going to be doing a whole presentation about addictions and with the Georgia Addiction Counseling Association at the end of October, the middle of it, right after my 60th birthday, actually. And so I'm going to take the reins here for a moment. So first of all, in 2016, Dr. Danny McLean out of Libertyville, Illinois, who I mentored under for many, many years. He's a functional medicine doctor, chiropractor, like the name skill set, he had it, right? So, and he gave me this research study on brain allergies, which was one of the most impactful discoveries that I made when I was reclaiming my health. And that is about how food sensitivities and the chemicals in our food impact our emotional well-being, which is, essentially why my new tagline is emotional healing through toxic-free living. So how does this relate to addictions? Well, our food supply. So this mom is eating those hot dogs that you mentioned. And if you go to do research on Howard Moskowitz, he was a psychophysicist. What that means is like he understood the psychology of chemicals in food. And so back in the 50s, the very first thing that he did is he created a formula for addiction, and it's the right amount of sweet, sour, and salt to have the body crave more, right? To crave more. And so why do we want to mess with our brain, to have our brain be addicted to the food that we eat? Because then we have what we have now, which is an obesity epidemic. Now, that's just getting the party started. And so the evidence shows, because I've been doing this research, talking to different doctors in the last week, my time is not my own. The evidence shows that, addiction starts in the womb, right? And so if you're feeding yourself while you're pregnant, which means you're feeding your baby, processed foods that have chemicals in it and has a formula for addiction, now you have created a cellular memory in the cells of the baby that is growing inside your body, and it's got a propensity to want to have those things. Our bodies naturally crave those things that we're sensitive to. So for instance, I had 135 food sensitivities. Andrew had 165 food sensitivities. We reversed all of it, and we do it in an hour, by the way, which is really cool. But the point is that Andrew's, one of his was apples. He goes, well, how can I be allergic to apples? It tastes good. Well, you don't actually get the symptom of the sensitivity until 7 to 10 hours after you ate the apple. Okay. So now you're bloated, or you're having skin, your hands itch, or your eyes itch, or you're irritable, and you're not connecting the dots to the food that you had 7 to 10 hours ago, because it's not like it was, in this case, let's say it's not a poisonous thing, meaning it's not a chemical and you're having an immediate reaction. You're having a delayed reaction, which is a food sensitivity. Okay. So if you're in that, if you're in that situation, first of all, you may want to get a test, which I offer, food sensitivity tests and nutrient deficiency tests. But if you're pregnant and you're eating processed foods, know that you are creating an addiction for that child. So, and let me just preface this, because I was talking to Jeremy Freeman. I was going to call him Dr. Jeremy Freeman. He's not, he's a biochemist. But he said to me, because Jody goes, if you don't want to create cognitive dissonance, he said, tell them about crack babies or alcohol babies. We already know that when a baby is born and the mother was doing crack or alcohol, you have to detox the baby, right? Because the baby then is now addicted to those things. So it's no different than your food supply, is the point. Rant over.
Caffeine in pregnancy. So caffeine is a dangerous drug. And when a woman consumes caffeine, and that's in the form of coffee, chocolate, energy drinks, cacao, raw cacao, not, decaf coffee has caffeine plus tons of chemicals. I mean, the list of caffeine goes on. You can look that up later. But when a pregnant woman consumes caffeine, it will pass on to the baby through the placenta and into the baby's bloodstream. It raises their blood pressure, their heart rate. The baby will become jittery, overstimulated, and will lead to poor sleep and a decrease in overall growth and well-being. Mm-hmm. So when the baby's supposed to be sleeping, on their sleep cycle, all of a sudden they're being shot with this, caffeine and this hit of adrenaline. And now they're awake, and they're awake when they're supposed to be developing, and now they're not developing when they're awake. And if you choose to do this as well, then you're going to find these little small tests where somebody's going to say, oh, you want a natural birth, but you have high acid, we need to induce. It's just it's a slippery slope that you don't want to go about. So there is no degree of caffeine is safe for a baby. The only amount of caffeine that you should consume is 0, because it's poor development for the baby. It leads, and then for the mom, it leads to one of these painful, long, unnatural, drawn out births. Those attributed back to caffeine because the mom's adrenal glands are blown out. So she's stressed. So she can't properly push because her battery isn't charged, because every day when you drink caffeine, it decreases your battery. And then when you go to bed at night, the point of sleeping is to rebuild, restore, rejuvenate, all those things, your body. And if you have that caffeine in your body, then you're not falling asleep and going through the proper sleep cycles. That's why when a caffeine addict wakes up, the first thing they think of, one of the 2 reasons they need the coffee in the morning is because the coffee they drank yesterday didn't allow them to go through a proper sleep cycle.
And that is a vicious cycle. And so I got off caffeine years ago. I would just add to that if you like the taste of coffee, Ticino makes a great coffee made from dandelions, which detoxes your liver, and has chicory root, which is a prebiotic, which is great for your gut health. And now they're adding different varieties like mushroom powders, lion's mane, things like that. So I would say explore dandelion coffees. I like Ticino. I know there's many other brands, but their brands are either clean or organic. So you have options to wean yourself off prior to getting pregnant, like that. And even if you're not in your baby making years, blowing out your adrenals, it's never a good thing. I've blown my adrenals out many times. It's not good.
And when you choose, if you get a coffee alternative, don't choose a caffeine alternative that has caffeine in the form of chocolate in it or cacao.
Yes. And they do have a chocolate version for the dandelion coffee, so I don't recommend that. I agree with you fully. So look, peeps, I gave up because I was allergic to chocolate for 5 years until I figured out how to reverse food sensitivities. So if I can give it up for 5 years, you can certainly give it up for 9 to 10 months. Right?
So 100% no alcohol with pregnancy. And I'm not talking about the symptoms of fetal alcohol syndrome. I'm not talking about alcoholism. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about socially drinking and then, oh, ha, 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 my doctor said it's okay. I'll just have a little of this, a little now and then. There's absolutely no amount of alcohol that a mom should consume. 0 is the amount of alcohol. And I'm talking about alcohol and supplements. I'm talking about any amount of alcohol. The only safe level is 0. So alcohol consumed by a pregnant woman can drastically affect the baby. It can alter DNA. It's got genetic expression on its whole can be altered, as well as the physical, mental, emotional development. Alcohol. The reason people get drunk is because alcohol is damaging the brain. So it's in the process. It's damaged the liver. Now it's damaging the brain. Now the body has to shoot out adrenaline or epinephrine to try to disseminate the brain destruction. And then you got this little hit of adrenaline. So it gives you this sudden burst and this small sensation of this was something, that gave me a hit, a high, a small high, but it's just slowly killing your brain, and your brain's starving to that. And so you don't even want to go down that road, because it can lead to the baby having headaches, the mom having headaches, the baby having infections, the mom having infections. All these mystery symptoms and chronic illness can be attributed back to that alcohol, as well as the alcohol is going to burn out your adrenals. It's going to lower your battery. And then when you go to have your natural birth, you're not going to have the strength to push the baby out because of just these small amounts of alcohol that you were consuming.
Yeah. And so first of all, thank you. So this is a brain spec scan. I am a brain health professional certified through Amen Clinics. And, the brain, it says the brain scans of this is a heavy drinker. And these holes that you're seeing are the areas of the brain that are no longer receiving blood flow activity. Those are the underperforming parts of the brain. Okay. So each time you're drinking, this is what you're doing to your brain. It's why I don't touch alcohol. I don't ever touch. We don't have alcohol in this house. It shrinks your brain volume, causes atrophy of the hippocampus, reduces the number of new brain cells, increases your risk of dementia. I'm sure Alzheimer's, of course. And the blood flow issue is a really big thing because that's showing up for you every single day. And I don't typically promote products here. Well, I mean, I talk about the products that I like, but the product that because I had brain tumors earlier in the year because of an overexposure to radiation. And so my friend Jeremy Freeman, who's a biochemist and a world renowned bodybuilder, most photographed, I think, in the world, he created it's called Upgrade. The Freeman formula is his website, and it actually increases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, giving you back mental acuity. And over time, you're going to, it's like any other path that you're creating, you're going to create a new memory where the blood flow is going to go back to the brain. And then you're not going to have a brain, hopefully, anymore, because the brain is awesome at healing. Your brain won't look like this anymore. Okay. And you certainly don't want to do this to your baby. Like, you don't want to do this to your baby. And certainly self care, right? Don't do this to you. And if anybody wants more information on brain health, that's my gig. So, rant over.
Moms are stealing from their baby. So when a mom gets so stressed out and they're consuming these stress-creating foods and drinks like caffeine, the mom's actually stealing resources away from the baby. So they're actually like tapping into the baby's adrenal glands for their relief. So now using the baby as a crutch so that they can consume their addictions. So as parents, I mean, the dad can't consume it. The father to be should not be consuming it in front of the mom to be. It needs to be a couples, together saying we're going to end this. But this is what can change the world. It's like you need to relax, let go of what's not serving you in this pregnancy, because the stress that you're creating is going to negatively affect your child's growth and development. And that's going to just compound into stress later in your life. So if you give up, for these 9 months while the baby's in your womb, if you give up all these addictions and do everything properly, the next 18 years of your life are going to be a breeze, because your baby's not going to have to be suffering and going to doctors and getting, tubes put in their ears and having all these emergency mystery symptoms. We don't know what it is. We need to run tests, and we need to take blood, and we need to do this and that. And you're in the medical system all because you couldn't give up these addictions while the baby was in your womb.
Yeah. And, please share this show, because people really need to know this information. Even if you share the show after the show, share it with other people who are in their, who are of childbearing years, or if you don't know, share it with your friends who are your age, and let them share it with someone who, they know. Look, I'm a lifelong learner, and so I don't want to be obnoxious and say I thought I knew. I don't think I know it all, but I think I knew it most. And then I met Tom. I'm like, I'm in the DK zone again. I don't know what I don't know. And I love it. So I just want to, really just extend so much gratitude to you, because people really need to know what they're doing. And, my husband, he had a traumatic brain injury, and as a 16-year-old head-on collision at 70 miles an hour. And, they thought they healed it, and it resurfaced, of course, at age 50. But when he got out of the hospital, they never told him not to drink, And so if you're a person who has a traumatic brain injury, you really shouldn't be drinking. And if you're alive, you probably had some sort of injury to your brain. So just love your brain, love your body, love your child's body, support your baby. Because whatever we're sharing about what you need to do for children, you also need to do for yourself. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. So go ahead.
An error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. So let's not worry about what we didn't know in the past and the decisions that were already made. Like, let's take this information, pass it along so it doesn't have to happen to the next generation. So even if a mom's sitting there and said, I already had my baby, I already drank caffeine, oh my God, what have I done? Like, let's not worry about it, but let's just make sure that, the grandkids don't do it, the nieces and the nephews that are coming up, the other parts of your family, that you can then pass this information on to them so that they can make educated decisions. And most people don't want to hear from their family members. That's why I created this course, which is at sproutstanding.com/birth. And there's 14 modules, and it takes you through all the modules. So it's all the, nutrition for pregnancy, supplements for pregnancy, detox for pregnancy, what to do, what not to do. It's all in that course.
You got a cool eyeball blinking, going, woo!
And then the reason I tell this information, and it seems like it's a secret that's being revealed for the first time, is because so many people have a certification that they had to pay money to get certified, and they have to have that certification or those credentials, in order to go into the hospital or in order to give birth, or, they don't want to lose their access to this, or, they don't want to have this license taken away, or they don't want to, lose their spot on this board, or they love going to this conference and that conference doesn't believe this. So many other people in the birth community are just looking the other way because they have something to lose, and I have nothing to lose. And that's why I'm willing to give you the truth. And a lot of other, people in this community, they don't want to upset somebody that hasn't followed this path, which I consider the optimal path, that they'll just hold back all truths so that they don't have to upset somebody. And then the other thing is that I'll get into a little history. So I'm a certified doula. So I took a certification that had to read tons of books and write essays and take tests and quizzes and do video conferences. And, I went through the whole thing. And I was so excited when I took that course on birth and pregnancy. When I first got into the course, I was the only male in the course. I think I was the only male that's ever taken the course through that organization. They had 0 pronouns, as if a male would be taking this course. They had 0 imagery as if a male would be taking this course. And there was no indication that a male would ever take this course, which I have no idea why, that industry is so female centered. But what the main thing that hit me is during, in the beginning of the course, I kind of just lost wind because everything, like I felt like even my course had been hijacked. So if I would tell a mom not to do this based on this science, and this is my background, I have a certified in this and that, they would say, No. You can't make any decisions based on science, evidence, facts. All you can be is an advocate for your client. So if your client says that they won't smoke cigarettes, you can't say, no, you can't smoke cigarettes. You can only say, these are the positive, these are the negative side effects of smoking, but these are some of the positive benefits of smoking. Now that I've given you both sides, you're free to make your decisions. And I simply just don't stand for that. And that's not what my program is based on. It's based on yes, no, right, wrong. If this is right, yes, do it. If it's wrong, no, don't do it. And you don't get a decision. Like, I'm not going to give you positive elements of smoking. So all of a sudden now I'm in this thing where I have to rewrite essays. I have to remake my video answers, and they're punishing me for being correct and saying the correct things, because the whole industry that's being washed over this midwife and doula thing is you can only be an advocate. You can't, stand for what's right in this world.
Right. And so that's the same issue I have, because, I have my functional food program, which is how to reclaim your health. And it also deals with the metaphysics as well, and the spirituality, the meditation, how to keep balance and how to use foods to stay balanced, distinct from what your program does. And, I'm not changing mine.
Yeah.
Sorry, I am so not changing mine. So it looks like Vieta may have a question, and we have just a few minutes left, because I know that Tom, we stayed after for the first time ever on my show last week with Tom, because we were given the opportunity to share with amazing journalists. Thank you to Naima Latif. She was in South Korea, and she had 2 journalists from Zambia. And so we stayed an hour after to really share the knowledge. And again, Tom, thank you for that. But he is being kicked out of his space at 10 o'clock. So we're going to stay on target. Vieta says she became a doula under Jenny Joseph's teaching in Orlando, Florida. She's an internationally known midwife. Are you familiar with her? She's very passionate about changing the stats on the high mortality rate among minority women.
I am not familiar with her. I'll be more than happy to check it out. Yeah, I think we should be changing the high mortality rates on all women. Personally, the United States is one of the worst countries to give birth in. We have the second worst maternity leave, but our birth rates, I don't have the stats offhand, but the birth rates and the likelihood of death in the United States currently, unbelievable. Like, if you saw the information, you wouldn't believe it. If you saw the rankings, you wouldn't believe it. And that's because everything's been hijacked and it's done for profit. It's not done for what's best for the mother or what's best for the baby. We talked about it before, but just a woman lying on her back with her feet in the air is the second worst position a woman can give birth. But it's just convenient for a doctor. He can roll over there with a stool, and everything he needs to see is at eye level. So they want the women on their backs. They want them restricted. They're told, you can't have any food or beverage. They're put under the bright lights. They're hooked up to machines. They're always creating a crisis so that they can try to do emergency surgery. It just never ends. And this is not leading into better births. It's leading into a high mortality rate for all women giving birth in the United States.
Well, and so the very first time I learned about how, the actual how babies were born was in high school. And I mentioned this in the last show last week, which I'm going to share the link for the last show. So if you want to catch last week's show, which was absolutely phenomenal as well, I'm going to put that link in the thread in a minute. But so that was the first experience that I saw about giving birth. Well, actually, that's not true. I saw my horse give birth, and that was actually very beautiful and real. And that did not scare me, although it scared me a little bit because it seemed like a difficult situation. Not exactly super comfy. But high school scared me enough to not have kids. But then about 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, my husband and I were watching a show. Honestly, I forget it, but it was based in, I think, the 1800s or 1600s, and a woman was having birth, and the husband was behind her, holding her, loving her, right? And she's standing and kind of crouching and letting the baby, and not hit the floor, but, come out naturally. And I think there was someone catching. But the thing was, it was filled with love.
Yeah.
And had I had that experience in school where they showed me that babies were born with love, I'd be, I can kind of get into that. Kept me unpregnant forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm going to be 60 and I don't have those parts anymore. So there you go. Vieta has another question before we end the show. How many of your clients choose home births, Tom?
There's a wide range because I have different clients at different levels. So there's ones that, take the entire course, or there's those that just kind of get an initial consultation and then go off on their own. But then
Oh, you just froze.
Hospitals and all that stuff. Then I have clients that are relatives who have the hospital birth, but then they used my information in the hospital birth. But if somebody, I start out with them, with fertility through conception, they're going to always choose a home birth or a birthing center. The couple that just had a baby this week did it a home birth, but they selected a home of a friend, so it wasn't in their home. So a home birth doesn't have to be in your home; it can be somewhere else. It wasn't a water birth; it was they just naturally delivered the baby. Yeah, and in that kind of like knees to nipple, it's the best way to, the best position, if you will. But you got to, you can go on your hands and knees. You can change all your positions. You can use a birthing ball, one of those big balls, however you need to be. And it doesn't have to be in some water or some giant tub in your home. You can just,
although I like
it in your home. Yeah.
And if you are doing water, make sure your water is filtered. So I'm just going to say.
Yeah, I will defer to Jody for getting the best in-house water filtration systems.
Yeah, and we'll talk offline about that, you and I helping each other out with that. So if there's any other questions or anything, we've got just a few minutes before we're ending the show. I'm going to check Podbean here. We've had people at all different platforms. We're really grateful that you chose to spend some of your morning with us. And we hope that you found this very informative. It opened my eyes, I'm going to tell you. And Tom, thank you very much. And so if you want to get in touch with Tom Whitmire, his website is www.sproutstanding.com. You can dial him at 305-771-1414. I think text messaging is also good for you. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And we have, let's see, Facebook. I think it's a Facebook user saying a comment here. I don't know who it is. That says, hold on. She's great information. Thank you. That sounds like Naima. That's
yeah. I'll say this. So 9 out of 10 women have at least one of these: infertility, fibroids, PCOS, HPV, endometriosis, cysts, breast density, pelvic inflammatory disease, preeclampsia, or like a natural hormonal imbalance. So 9 out of 10 women have one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So I created this course. When you get the course, there's an answer to all of those. What is the cause? What is the cure? And then what is the course to eliminate this? So that's what my life's goal is. So many women get a fibroid diagnosis and then they're told they have to go to surgery. And I've picked a friend up from fibroid surgery, and then I'll say, what did they tell you was the cause and what did they tell you was the cure? Well, they didn't tell me what the cause was or the cure, but they give me these lists of foods I should eat. And the 3 foods, one of the foods that they told me to eat is the one thing that leads to fibroids. It's a cause of fibroids.
What is the cause of fibroids? What food?
Well, I'll just save that. It's a can of worms. One of the supplements, 2 of the 3 supplements that they told her to take are a cause of fibroids. And surgery is not a cure for fibroids. And I know this because she had to go back in a few months later to have the surgery again because nothing was cleared up. But when I pick her up and then I present her, that's the cause, that's not the cure, this is the cure, then all of a sudden it's like, I'm just a friend, they're the doctor, and it's like you can never be an expert in your own town. So it's kind of this hard thing. So for so many people, there's like, they know what the cause and the cure is, but they don't have, the person's not going to listen to them. So that's why I created the course, so that you can direct other people that are having infertility, PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids to my course. And then I will show you the cause and the cure. And then here's a course to get to the end of that. And the answers are not hormone replacement surgery, and they are not birth control.
No, I mean, they're plants. I mean, like I get rid of on my hands and on my feet, whatever. If I get like a cyst and I use lemongrass and it goes away in a day, I just apply it topically, and you can also take it internally. And frankincense essential oil is the king of oils, and you can take that. And I'm sure that, Tom has other solutions. So what I want you to know is that every single plant can be used 10 or 15 different ways, because everybody has some plant that works better for their body than it does for their next door neighbors. So my solutions are lemongrass and frankincense, but Tom, I'm sure, has other solutions outside of that. And you want to, have your arsenal full so that you can, find out what's best for you. Like that. But the point is that synthetics don't work, and surgery is a Band-Aid. Is that okay?
That's the summary.
So thank you, Chris. Chris says, thank you. You're awesome with all sorts of great information. I couldn't agree with you more, Chris. So thank you for that. Reach out to Tom. And if, or myself, if you're looking for, energy healing or, one of the things, Tom is helping, we both help people reclaim their health. Right. But one of the things that people are often unaware of is that you have a cellular memory. I help with getting rid of those cellular memories on a energy level. So as a quantum energy healer, I can clear, so this says, you mentioned a link. Okay, Rebecca, what kind of link? So I know that I put in this link, sorry, for the last show that we did, which was last week. And it's also on Facebook there. Wait, no, that's not it. This is it. So maybe, is there a different link that you're looking for? And then his website is up here, which is sproutstanding.com. I just want to make sure that I am giving you what you need right now. But we have, or just reach out to either one of us, right? Text us if you have a question about what it is that you're looking for. So he's 305-771-1414. I'm 847-738-0242. And you don't see it. It may not populate in the Facebook group. If that's the case, I will put it in that Facebook group right after the show so that you have it. Thank you. Blah.
All right. So my closing minute is I'm just going to hit some bullet points and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
But my closing bullet points that we can discuss all these next time is, I want to encourage couples to stop spending $40,000 for IVF and being put through all the turmoil that comes with that, when you can spend $4,000, to naturally clean up the foods that you're eating, to detox your body, to take proper supplements. to eliminate all the problems, to eliminate what causes infertility. And that's part of the course. So, go the natural route. I want to encourage couples to stop scheduling C-sections. If you do everything properly throughout the course, there is no pain when it comes to birth. It's a completely enjoyable experience. You'll have 18 years of beautiful life with your child. So stop scheduling C-sections. And ultrasounds are not for the entertainment of the parents. They're not for, oh, my favorite part is the ultrasound. Ultrasounds are ionizing radiation, and they're bad for the baby. And if you have more than one ultrasound, it's not a good thing. It's heating up the baby. It's causing distress. We can talk about that later. But stop using ultrasounds for social media, for getting views and hits and dopamine and putting pictures on your fridge. It should be for detecting and then done. And the last thing I'll talk about is stop eating your placenta. So we talked about that in the other show. Watch the other show, but you don't need to encapsulate or eat your placenta. There's no human health benefit. If you take my course, if you go through the steps, if you eat natural foods and plants, you don't need to eat your baby's organ. And the number one thing that you can do is drink water. So stop choosing all these other random beverages and start drinking clean, healthy water, and most of your symptoms will go away. So I will leave it with drink water. Jody.
Yeah. So I just have to show that screen. So people, if you are not drinking and showering in clean water, for just about, actually it's about $300 between your shower head and the countertop model for the water filter. You can drink clean water and shower in clean water. And remember that your skin does not have a filter. So that's something that I offer. And, this is a no-brainer. You can spend money going to the doctor and medications, or you could just clean up your water supply and have a happy, healthy day. All right.
And mothers are calling me and telling me how grateful my information was because it brought fathers into the birth. And it's the role of the father. So I present this information. I'll do it anyway, but it's best if I present this information to the father, and then the father presents the information to the mother. And then as a couple, then they decide what their birth plan is going to be. And now the father's part of the birth. And when the birthing process is going on and the father stands up, for the benefit of the baby, towards the doctor, the hospital, to the midwife, to the doula, and he's directing, commanding it, then the father's a part of it. Then we have this big loving family that grows up together. And that's what I really think I bring to the table, is helping to give the father confidence that he can stand up for the rights of his baby and his mother and the baby's mother, and that no medical person's going to be mistreating them or violating their rights or going away from what their birth plan is or creating some scenario that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and we need to protect our men. I'm just going to tell you that. An astrologer friend of mine who passed about 10 years ago, she said, Jody, you're here to empower women. And I always thought, well, I'm here to empower both, right? And I do believe that's true, because there's a lot of men that have come in as the divine feminine. And it's a really interesting thing I've seen. And really recognize, really in the last 4 or 5 years, how many men came in as the divine feminine. I came in as the divine masculine. And then we have to learn how to balance all of that and have us both have balance and harmony in both our feminine and our masculine side, versus pushing one side over the other, right? And so I'm here to really empower people, right? To make the best choices on your own behalf. And sometimes I'm crabby about it. But I do anyway.
And the information that we just covered is about 1/15 of the knowledge that's been assembled, that you can go through in video forms and that sort of thing, and then you get that oh my gosh, I didn't know that was true, and then you go off on the tangent studying that and you're like, oh, it is true, and then you go to the next slide, oh, I didn't know that was true. It's like a scavenger hunt of information, but it always leads back to the truth and what's best for you. It doesn't lead back to a stream of income for the person that's presenting the information, like so much.
Well, and that's really just the truth. So if you buy the shower head, I think I'm making like 12, 15 bucks, right? So I mean, it's not like I'm getting rich off of your shower head. What I am getting rich off is seeing you reclaim your health. Mwah. All right. So thank you, everybody. We're a little bit over, so I'm just going to end our broadcast and thank everybody for being here. And Tom, hang on if you can for me. And join us next week. So next week we'll have our regular, which is Michelle Froge, the Rockstar Coach. And we are being joined by my brother from another mother, Rajai Kaldani. We will be doing quantum energy healing during the entire 2 hours. So free healing for you. All right.
Aloha.